Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 10 of my fantasy football season. We are this week looking to get off of this little 2-game losing streak we got going on right now and get back into the win column in time to get good seeding for the playoffs, which start in, I think there's 3 weeks of the regular season left before the playoffs start for fantasy. So, with that being said, we will get into the scoring for this week. Peyton had a slow start this week against the Raiders. He did throw 2 interceptions before he threw a touchdown. So, Peyton needs you to cut back on the turnovers a little bit. But nonetheless, in 3 quarters against the Raiders, was still able to put up 5 touchdowns and 340 yards. So, despite the slow start, Peyton came up big this week with 35 points as expected against the Raiders. I mean, it's the Raiders. Up against Tony Romo, Peyton won that matchup this week. We had, going into the receivers, we had 2 100-yard receivers this week. So, that's always good. Martavis Bryant had 143 yards, of course, a little bit askewed by a 80-yard touchdown in the last minute of the game for the Steelers against the Jets, which was just, he beat the corner who didn't care about the game anymore because the Jets already had the game won. But that helped his fantasy output for this week, so I was happy. And then again, Odell Beckham Jr., even up against Richard Sherman, had a solid game. So Odell Beckham Jr. is definitely the real deal here. Trying to get some votes for Rookie of the Year, maybe. And then we had Terrence Williams, who got 0. So, yeah. Now, I did watch a little bit of the Cowboys game, and Tony Romo did miss Terrence Williams on a what would have been a touchdown pass. He underthrew him, but that was really his only target in the game. So, against the Jaguars, you would expect players to do better than score 0 points, and for Terrence Williams to have more than 1 target. But I guess Dez Bryant was too busy taking control of that game against the Jaguars. So we have a 0 this week in the scoring. Now, going to my running backs, Marshawn Lynch. Wow. Against the Giants, to say the least, beast mode was activated this week. Marshawn Lynch had his first 100-yard rushing game of the season against the Giants, and apparently getting 100 rushing yards for the first time this season wasn't enough for beast mode because he also had to run for 4 touchdowns on the Giants and absolutely decimate them in the second half of a game that was close for the entire first half. He came away with 51 points for me this week, which is the highest point total by an individual player in my league this year. So thanks for that, Marshawn Lynch. Then we also had Bobby Rainey. I'm still trying to somewhat figure out my second running back situation. But as long as Marshawn Lynch is putting up numbers as he has been the last couple weeks, I'm not really too worried about my second running back position. But I do think that this may be the end of Bobby Rainey because Tampa's backfield situation, running back situation is it's not good. They have like a 3 or 4 headed horse running back system, and I don't really want to deal with that anymore. So we're gonna probably look to put someone else in there for next week. For my tight end, we got rid of Zach Ertz because he has been an inconsistent bum for a majority of this season. Picked up Jared Cook this week, and he came up big, got me 16 points, only 2 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Can't really talk that much about him. Have no idea what happened in that game, but do definitely appreciate the big scoring output from him. Next, we go to my kicker, Sweejum, who, to say the least, in the kicking game, for one, he did make his career-long field goal against the Jets of like 50, I think it was 53 yards. But then later on in the game, he missed a 23-yard field goal. So, take the good with the bad, I guess. He kind of lost the game for the Steelers this week, though, with the onside kick that he did at the end of the game after Martavis Bryant's touchdown was pathetic. And that's really about it for Sweejum. He got me 9 points, which is, it's good for a kicker, but he could have played a bigger role, and he could have had 12 if he would have made a 23-yard field goal. Now going on to my defenses. My main defense in the Colts had a bye this week, so I had to pick up 2 defenses this week. Basically, I saw Atlanta's defense there, and I picked them up because they were facing Tampa. I like having a defense against the Bucs is definitely a good way to go. And they got me 22 points, which is pretty good. They were only projected for 14, so 22 is good enough. They did wind up with 2 interceptions and 4 sacks. Didn't give up that many points, so we're happy with that. Then I also, just because I had to pick up another defense, picked up Tennessee's defense, and they did not do as well as Atlanta's defense, but they did get about what they were projected to with 9 points. Now, there was a big thing with Dansby this week because as I was watching the Thursday night game and paying attention to Dansby's stats, he had a lot of tackles, but Fantasy decided to make some or most of his tackles assisted and not solo. So when he had me like 20 points, but they instead changed most of his tackles, like I said, to assisted tackles, which takes away a lot of points because he only got me 9. And they only gave him 1 solo tackle. And he definitely had more than that. I watched that game. But that's the way that works. Kendricks had another big game for me last night. The Eagles linebacker got me 8 tackles and plus the sack for 19 points. And DeAndre Levy, who has been a consistent scorer for my defense, had 9 tackles as well as a pass deflection for 20 points. Now, going on to my bench, we will take a look. Baldwin had 9 points. Baldwin pretty much probably won't play again on my team. He's probably going to stay on my bench. I don't want anyone else to have him, but he is probably going to stay on my bench because my rookie receivers in Martavis Bryant and Odell Beckham are pretty much destroying right now, and Deshaun Jackson has been hot this year, so those are going to be my 3 receivers pretty much for the rest of the year. Going on to Darren McFadden, did not really do anything this week, only had 11. Fred Jackson was back this week, which is a good sign for my second running back spot, because Fred Jackson, if he gets back and healthy on time for me for the playoffs, that would be good, because as I'm going to talk about Frank Gore now, Frank Gore did have a good week this week, but he's been, look, we can just look at his numbers on the year, maybe. Nope, they're not going to show it. Frank Gore has been the epitome of inconsistent this year. There's weeks where he rushes the ball 20 plus times and gets over 20 fantasy points with ease, and then there's other weeks where he rushes the ball like less than 10 times and only gets like 10 points. So I don't know what to do. That's why I don't know what to do with my second running back position. And if Fred Jackson came back and is at full health for the playoffs, I would definitely have Marshawn Lynch and Fred Jackson as my 2 running backs, because Jackson can be the main and only back in Buffalo with Spiller out for the rest of the year. And then to finish off my bench, we had Cutler, who was absolutely pathetic and terrible against the Bears. Against the Packers on Sunday night. Wow. So we will now get into the scoring. We did come out with a little bit of a lopsided victory this week, winning by a score of 248 to 180. That is about a 68-point win. I scored over my projection by 50 points. 52 points to be exact. And I did go up to 5-5, so we are back at 500 for the season. And we moved up from 5th place into 4th, which doesn't really change much for the playoffs, because we are still in that same matchup, in the 4 against 5 matchup. So we basically just swapped spots with 5th place. With 4th place from last week, we swapped spots with. So we're still facing each other in the playoffs, so that doesn't really matter. Next week, I am facing the team that is in 2nd place, so hopefully we can come up with a big win next week and keep this winning streak, or get a winning streak rolling before the playoffs start in a few weeks, and can get some momentum going. It looks like my team is starting to shape out a little bit. Finally, I do have good receivers now. Peyton is going to continue to be Peyton, I hope. And Marshawn Lynch and the Seattle Seahawks are starting to be smart and run the ball. So we're looking pretty good. Team's looking pretty strong. This is like the 4th or 5th straight week in a row that I scored over 200 points. So hopefully we can keep this going good. And I'm rambling now, so that's all I have for today. And until next time, good luck, have fun, and be safe.